So what we wanted to do next then was try to understand why. Why is there an increase? Is it just that you put a SANE program in place and prosecution rates went up? Why did rates go up? So again, what we're doing here is using a variety of mixed methodologies to try to get at this issue. And the first stop on this journey was to talk with police and prosecutors in this community who had been around both before and after the implementation of the SANE program to get a feel from them. What's different? What has changed since this program was created? So what we did in this study was we did in-depth interviews with 9 detectives or detective supervisors and all 6 prosecutors in the county sex crimes unit. And we asked them whether they perceived that there's been a change in the criminal justice response after the SANE program. We knew quantitatively that there was, but we were interested in whether the qualitative methods would validate our quantitative findings and whether they perceived a change in their normal operating procedure. And then we wanted to collect some information from them about what their experiences have been like working with this SANE program. So what I'm going to do now is, again, these were qualitative data. So I'm going to share with you 2 exemplar quotes, one from a law enforcement, one from a prosecutor. They really sort of highlight some of the key findings from this study. And then I'm going to show you a visual representation, or a map, if you will, of what the full qualitative analysis suggested. So first off, this is a quote from one of the prosecutors that we interviewed. We asked her, we said, do you think the prosecution rates have gone up? And she said, oh, absolutely. And then she went on to say, I think it has everything to do with the SANE program. I really do. When I get a case on my desk, I'm like, oh, look, they reported right away. A SANE report. Look, there's injury. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I've got a good case. I've got corroboration. I've got medical. I've got a good case. And I will use that when talking to the defense attorney. So what we're hearing from this prosecutor is that, yes, something is very different. What arrives on her desk is now very different. She's got forensic evidence, she's got injury, she's got something to work with, to take to a defense attorney and get a guilty plea. And similarly, when we talked to law enforcement, we also got a very similar picture from them. When asked if they found the SANE program useful, this particular detective supervisor said yes, and went on to say, SANE is much more organized than the hospital was, and the SANE information is received rather quickly. If not the same day, the following day you have the information. With the hospital, it took time to go through their records to obtain any additional reports, which made it difficult for us to proceed with our investigation. SANE, it saves us time. A search warrant takes a lot of time. You go to the hospital. If they don't really readily give us the records we are requesting, well, then we have to look through all their files. And once you show them the search warrant, they usually comply, but it's just another step and another, and time is being burned up when it could be used for other things that are more beneficial to the investigation. So what this quote is doing is showing us the way in which the SANE program helps out in the early stages of the investigation. The information, meaning the forensic exam report and the injury documentation, the police get that right away, and they can use it right away in their investigation. Before, they had to get a search warrant from the hospital to get the information from the hospital, and that could take time. They only have so much time to spend on any one case, and they were burning up their time trying to get information out of the hospital, whereas now, after the SANE program, they get it right away. So in gluing these findings together, what we found from all of these qualitative interviews was that the police and prosecutors emphasized that the medical forensic evidence that is being collected by the SANEs, first off, is just far better quality and evidence in the documentation what they had. What they're working with is very different. They have better forensics than they ever had before. And that in and of itself is a key factor in creating a stronger case that's more likely to be prosecuted. But what they also said was that the forensic evidence collected by the nurses and the way in which they get it to them saves the police time. And time is a very precious commodity to them, because then they could use their time to put more investigational effort into the case. So they're not spending all their time trying to get the medical records. What they're doing is that they can now take that information from the nurses and move very quickly into other aspects of the investigation. Now, the other thing that was highlighted in these qualitative data is that the police and prosecutors emphasized that the training that the SANE program provides for them about forensic evidence, about injuries, was also a very helpful resource to them, as was ongoing case consultation, meaning that the police and prosecutors knew they could always turn to the SANE nurses and ask them a question. Hey, what does this mean? What does this mean? Is this consistent with this? So they had a go-to always available to them as they were building their case. So those two factors provided them with more information